Hello, everyone. Today I will be presenting on self-reflection in professional development, focusing on how it can enhance our teaching practices through both structured and non-structured reflection. My name is Edmira Shahghazenpour, and I'm excited to share this with you. First, let me introduce myself a bit more. I have Bachelor and Master of Teaching English, and I'm a CELTA certified teacher. I have been teaching English for 20 years, 6 years of which is at prep school. And at the moment, I have been working for Bahçeşehir University for 2 years. What I will talk about today is outlined here. So I will start with introduction. Then I will explain the meanings and the concepts of self-reflection. Then I will deep dive different types of self-reflection. I will continue with literature review, personal experience, the benefits for me, and the future steps for other teachers. First of all, I want to start with the introduction. Self-reflection is a critical component of professional development, allowing educators to continuously improve their practices. It involves examining one's own teaching practices, decisions, and their impact on student learning. According to Bailey and Raymond, self-reflection helps identify strengths and area for growth, fostering a culture of continuous improvement. So, what is the concept of self-reflection in teaching? Self-reflection involves examining one's teaching practices, decisions, and their impact on students' learning. So everything starts with the teacher himself or herself. During the process, the teacher will decide on what to do to have better atmosphere or better outcomes, and then applies it in the classroom, and the outcome is the better impact on student learning, which I believe that both teachers and students will take advantages of. Um, As I told earlier, self-reflection is very important for different reasons. It causes continuous improvement. It allows educators to continuously refine their teaching, and it causes awareness and also adaptability. How do you become aware? It helps the educators become more aware of teaching style and its effectiveness. And also adaptability can encounter for encouraging adaptability and responsiveness to students' needs. Doing so, there are two types of self-reflections. One of them is structured, and the other one is non-structured. So as you can see, the structured one, as the name just implies, it is systematic and planned one. But non-structured can be spontaneous, informal, and can be done in different atmospheres or conditions. So if I want to consider the literature review, I can say that there are several key theories underpin the practice of self-reflection, one of which is shown and the other one is Kolb's. I'm gonna just deep dive about the key theories that both of both of the practitioners have gone through. Dole and Schoen emphasized the importance of reflection in action and reflection on action. as you see in the picture on the right. Reflection in action involves thinking on your feet and making adjustments during the teaching process. A reflection on action involves analyzing past experience to improve future practices. For example, during a lesson, you might notice some students aren't engaged and decide to change your approach on the spot, which happens a lot to us every day. Which is like reflection in action. Later, you might review the lesson and think about what you could do differently next time, which is reflection on action. So the one that you decide on the spot is in action, and the one that you do it later on is on action. And Kolb's experiential learning cycle is David Kolb's theory highlights the role of reflection in learning from experiences. The cycle includes concrete experience, engaging in a new experience, and also reflecting observation, which is reflecting on the experience. Also, it contains abstract conceptualization, which is forming new ideas and modifying existing ones based on the reflection. Also, it has active experimentation, which applies the new ideas in practice. For example, after you try a new teaching strategy, which can be like a bit unknown for you, which is a concrete experience, you reflect on its effectiveness, how it affects your how it affects you and also your audience, which is reflective observation, and also develop new insights about it, which is abstract conceptualization, and applying these insights in future lessons is considered active experimentation. So there are 4 steps. It is a bit more complicated than Sean's, but it needs concentration on it. As I mentioned earlier, there are 2 types of self-reflection. Structured one contains three types, which I'm going to talk about. This involves systematic and planned reflection activities. For example, reflective journals. Regularly, some people, like some individuals actually do it on their daily basis. It can be done for your daily activities, or can be done in education, which is very helpful. I have always done it. And when I go back to my journals, I see that I have learned a lot during this process. So, reflecting journals is regularly writing about teaching experience and insights. This helps in practicing, documenting thoughts, and tracking progress over time. For instance, after each lesson, you might write down what went well and what could be improved, or what didn't go well in the class. Another type is feedback sessions, seeking and reflecting on feedback from peers and mentors. Sometimes we do it professionally, but sometimes we do it like in our chit chats, which is considered in unstructured one. This can provide new perspectives and areas for improvement. For example, after a peer observation, you can discuss the feedback that can lead to valuable insights, so which can be constructive feedback too. Another one is learning walks, observing and reflecting on other teachers' practices, which can provide us with new ideas and approaches to incorporate into our teaching, actually. For example, we can observe a colleague's classroom management techniques and reflect on how we could apply the same strategies and how we could do them differently, maybe. So, as I told, another practice is non-structured self-reflection. This involves spontaneous and informal reflection, which can be considered actually, I think all of us as instructors, when we are in the classes or when we leave the classes, we have this in mind. How did my class go? How could I do it much better? So normally in teacher's room, we start discussing with our colleagues about what happened in the classroom. Maybe it can be about the spontaneous insights and reflection. For example, how we can make a lesson plan, or how do you want to do this plan before going to the classes. It is all constructive, actually, in a way. And the next type of non-structured self-reflection is personal contemplation. It is reflecting on teaching practices during quiet moments, which can help in processing experiences and thoughts. For example, thinking about a challenging classroom while you on your commute home can lead to a new strategy. I think all of us do it all the time. And the last format of it is spontaneous feedback. Reflecting on feedback received in real time can lead to immediate adjustments and improvements. As an example, we can consider noticing students' reactions during a lesson and adjusting it to our approach accordingly. So it is totally spontaneous. We see the students' reactions and we act upon it. Okay. The next slide is about adult learning principles. Self-reflection aligns with key principles of adult learning, which has different parts like relevance, application, and effective professional development and e-grid framework. I will talk about all of them one by one. So, relevance consists of the concept that adults need to see the relevance of what they are learning. They prefer learning that is self-directed and connected to their existing experiences. As an example, I can mention that we can reflect on how new teaching strategies can be applied in our classroom, which makes the learning more relevant and meaningful. In that case, we will have like productive lessons, I assume. And the application is self-reflection allows educators to connect new knowledge to their existing experiences, making the learning process more meaningful and effective. For instance, reflecting on a professional development workshop can help you integrate new strategies into your teaching practice. For example, we join a PDU session, and whatever we learn in those sessions, we can apply in our classes, and we see the immediate outcome of it. And maybe we can apply it in our later classes or deep dive on it and try to explain it, or try to expand and change some strategies in it. And effective professional development is characterized by being ongoing, collaborative, and focused on improving student outcomes. Self-reflection doesn't just help you, it helps the students as well, and the outcomes of their learning. Self-reflection is a key component of effective PD, as it encourages continuous improvement and helps educators stay engaged in their professional growth. For example, we can say that regularly reflecting on your teaching practice can help you identify areas for your improvement and seek out relevant professional development opportunities. Another concept that I wanted to explain, that which we learned in our PDU classes, was the grid framework. The GRADE framework focuses on engagement, effectiveness, and efficiency in teaching practices. Self-reflection helps educators evaluate and enhance their practices in these areas, leading to better teaching outcomes. For example, reflecting on your teaching methods can help you identify ways to increase students' engagement and improve the effectiveness and efficiency of your lessons. Now that I explained everything about self-reflection, structured and unstructured way, I want to talk about my personal experience. Actually, I'm sure that most of us have those aha moments that we suddenly encounter something, or even if we have the same let's say grammatical points, vocabulary that we teach in every session or to different classes. There are a lot of things to talk about, but I have chosen some of them to make it more concrete and understandable. One of which was classroom management. This was something that we learned a lot in our bachelor education. So, one of the memories that I have was during a lesson, I noticed that the students are frequently distracted and talking among themselves. So how did I try to try to find a solution for that? I observed. I reflected on whether the activities were engaging. Maybe I could use another way, or if the classroom rules were enforced effectively or not. Did I set good rules for the classroom or not? Then in the analysis section, I determined that the task lacked structure and students needed clearer guidelines. What I did for in reality was I incorporate attention grabbing techniques like group work and used timer to maintain focus in the next session. So the outcome was very useful. It improved classroom behavior and increased the students' participation the next time. Another experience that I had was the structured self-reflection practice, um, which is about a grammar lesson about past perfect tense. After the lesson, I noticed that some students were confused about the forming of the past perfect. I wrote in my journal, while explaining the structure, I rushed through the examples. Actually, it is very difficult for some of the students to understand the past perfect or grammatical rules like this for tenses, which they don't use a lot in their mother tongue. But it was a very good idea for me to just explain it more. When they were doing their practice activity, they were so hesitant. That's why it grabbed my attention, and I talked to one of my colleagues about it. Actually, she had gone through the same thing. So I asked her to check her classroom procedure. Afterwards, they suggested me the teachers, my colleague suggested me to use timelines and visuals. Actually, it was about the first years of my teaching. I was not so experienced, so it helped me much better because without timelines, it could be a bit difficult for me to explain it more. And what I did is, based on my journal and feedback, I decided to include a timeline next in the next class. And I prepared some other worksheets that focused on form and the usage of it in real life. And the students seemed more engaged because I decided to have more interactive activities as well. And during the next activity, they used the past perfect tense more confidently. I used, let's say, systematic reflection after the lesson and seeked for feedback that made me more aware of my teaching style. And I try to make it refined and do it better the next times. Another example that I can give you is about non-structured self-reflection. Um, When I was going home, I thought about a reading lesson that I had. Most of the time, the students don't like reading long texts. And while I was thinking on my way home, I thought about the lesson and realized that students struggled with skimming part because they don't know the strategy. They spend too much time reading word for word and I remember that I hadn't modeled skimming effectively before starting the task. What I did was the next day, before assigning a similar activity, I demonstrated how to skim a paragraph to identify key ideas. I showed it one by one how to do it. And I asked for some students to answer to my questions about it. There was a spontaneous feedback during the activity. I observed how the students immediately applied the strategy. When I saw this improvement, I felt encouraged to use this technique in future. How I applied it was it sometimes, or let's say often, happens naturally, like during quiet moments. It gives me immediate insights into what I can do better and allows me to make quick adjustments without overthinking. And the benefits of self reflection is the most important part of it. Um, During the self-reflection, I came up with the idea that the best thing to do is to just think, reflect, and try to just find some possible ways. How I benefited from my self-reflection was it helped to enhance teaching effectiveness for me. By regularly reflecting on practices, educators can identify what works well and what needs improvement, which results in effective teaching. For example, we can reflect on a successful lesson and understand what made it effective and try to do it later on. Another thing is to promote is that it promotes professional growth. Continuous self-reflection encourages educators to seek new knowledge and skills that contributes to their professional development. For example, reflecting on areas for improvement might motivate you to attend a professional development workshop, which can be very helpful. We learn from other people's experiences. And also, it encourages lifelong learning. Sometimes we do some activities for once and we forget them. But if we start practicing reflection more and more, we will make a mindset of continuous learning and improvement, which is essential for our personal and also professional growth. For example, regularly reflecting on teaching practices can help us stay curious and open to new ideas. As we know, teaching is an ongoing progress, and every time we learn better and better with more practices. What you can do for future step is self-reflection is a vital part of professional development. It helps us identify our strengths and areas for growth, ultimately leading to improved teaching practices. Moving forward, I suggest integrating self-reflection into our daily practices by setting aside regular time for reflecting and seeking ongoing feedback. So we are about to finish this presentation. These are my references. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you find it useful. Have a good day.